And there we are. Hello, dear.
She approves.
Ah.
Callie likes the old HBO opener part, but when the Misti Media came on, she's just.
Hello, Miss Regina. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. Rar. That's Dinosaur. Yeah, you know, it's nice to finally have an intro of our own. I do love the HBO thing. I'll never get tired of that. I'm sure at some point I'll probably yank it and we'll just stick with our opening. But I don't know. I was really, really happy with the way the see, Regina says "rar" means I love you, and she does. Let me tell you, Regina's one of the sweetest people ever. Oh my God, I love her truly, madly, deeply. She's just such a good human being to everybody. I mean, just good people. But I really wanted to get like get us a theme, you know, get that song that plays on that is actually called Peru. There's a link in the show notes to the artist so that we don't get copyright strikes. But you know, bless his heart, he created this. He's allowing the song to be used for any purpose, as long as he gets credit in the show notes. So I thought that was pretty awesome. We didn't have to use AI to do the music. We were able to use somebody's music out there that actually composed it. It's actually a song called Peru. So with everything else, I thought that was pretty cool. Can't say that we didn't use AI for the video. It wasn't that good.
You mean you didn't get a time machine and send a drone back in time to do all those flyovers over the White City? And
so I guess apparently the flyovers are all real. They're because I watched as it planned out. It was the coolest thing of working with AI to put it together, and I could actually see where it was finding and selecting public clips to be able to use for it. So like it's not using anything poached, and it's not creating anything like out of nothing. It's stitching together actual real video shot. And somewhere in the code is like all the credit for where they got all the shots. If it wasn't, so I mean, I guess it's AI in terms of stitching it together, but it's not AI in the creation of it, which is really cool. So
it's AI used as a tool by a human being for the human being to create something.
Yes, exactly. But you know, it was great. I was able to type in exactly what I wanted. And there's still some tweaks I want to do, and somehow I forgot to put Picarona's press in there.
I was going to say. I was going to say.
We only released a couple books in there, but you know, there's more on the way. So I'll have to go back at some point and update it. Speaking of updates that aren't necessarily great updates, ooh, how's that going to work? Okay.
That doesn't want to show it all. There we go.
There we go. So, Linda, what do you call this? No, not the title. What's in my hand?
A book, a novel.
Okay, but what kind of book?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a paperback, right?
Oh, paperback. Okay.
Okay. So then what's this?
A trade paperback?
Yeah. Guess which one doesn't exist anymore?
Well, the mass markets are gone.
I cannot believe this. I am shocked. I am absolutely shocked that this format of book has been discontinued. That you can no longer print a book in this size. I mean, I suppose you might be able to. Ingram probably will still offer the size if need be, but an entire industry has eliminated what we all have always known as the mass market paperback. And
the ebook took its place.
And the winner of the war is the trade.
Mm-hmm. Because the
thing everybody used to hate and said, I hate holding this in my hand. It's too big. I want the mass market because I can dog ear it and I can shove it in my back pocket.
But now the mass market is
right
on your phone. Not that I couldn't ever read it on my phone, you know. Too tiny.
But weren't you kind of shocked when you heard the news that
I was?
It
took me a while to work my way through it and realize that, you know, okay. I mean, you should see all the mass market paperbacks.
Right. Like I was thinking about that. Most of my books are still in boxes, so I've just never really unpacked them to here. But
me too.
But and I look behind you. I'm like, girl, got a library going on behind her. But
that's a teeny fraction.
And Warren pops in and says, for a while, the mass market paperback got taller. Yeah, it did for a little while.
I hated those. They were. Yeah. Why were they taller?
And they never fit on the shelf right, especially if you were trying to merchandise them together. But, to me, the mass market was the epitome of the beach read, right? Because you didn't take a hardback to the beach. You might take a hardback to the pool. And you take off the jacket and sit by the pool with your hardcover, because it was a little easier in the sun. And if you had sunglasses, the print was a little larger for you to be able to see it while your sunglasses were on. But the idea that, it used to be that mass market, if it got wet in the ocean, the wave came up and washed everything and your mass market got ruined. Okay. You were out like $4.99, right?
That shows how old you are.
Yeah.
But then again, I remember the 99-cent mass market paperbacks. I'm really old.
I think for me, probably $2.99 and $3.99 is kind of where I got started at my age with the mass markets. But it's one of the reasons why I've always priced, whether it was back in Untrade Reads or even now with Misti Media, I've always priced ebooks at the same price as mass markets. And that was always my comparison was, okay, what did we, back when I was a Walden bookstore manager, what would we have charged for a mass market book? And figuring $4.99, $5.99 was kind of that sweet spot. And I remember when it got to be $6.99, Regina says 25 cents from the garage sale. Yeah, Regina, it was usually mass markets, right? Like again, or you went to your library sale with like fill a bag, and it was still. But they were the ones that they could get destroyed and you didn't care. You didn't feel like you were out anything.
It was like, oh shoot, I have to get another one to finish reading the book.
Right. And sometimes you did, or it had yellowed on the shelf after too long and you're like, yeah, I still want it in my collection, but I need to replace it. And you'd go out and buy another cheap mass market or you go to your used bookstore, which was filled with mass markets, and you grab one from there. The other thing I noticed that seems to be making a comeback, and I don't understand why, is groundwood paper. Amazon just announced this big deal that you can now go to all the paperbacks that you produce through KDP and print them all using ground paper. And for those of you out there, or groundwood paper, and for those of you that are out there that don't know that, the typical mass market back in the day were produced with groundwood paper, which was this sort of low quality, extremely thin, easy to tear, and definitely not acid balanced. So all the books you have that, all those mass markets that turn brown, or the edges turned yellow, it's all because of the acidity in the paper from using groundwood, which was just a really cheap way to produce books. And we got away from that, particularly with trade paperback using a higher quality of paper. And now all of a sudden, groundwood is making this comeback. And I was like, I don't understand. You're doing away with the mass market format, but you're keeping the paper.
It's money in the pockets of the people upstairs.
I've made the decision that we, here at Misti, we will not use groundwood. I'm not going to spend the time. I'm not going to have an author turn in this really great quality piece of work and then turn out a crappy, 6x9 paperback in groundwood, where it's
this is the paper. The paper here, it's like butter.
Right?
It's just wonderful. You can flip through it, and it doesn't go crinkle because of it being brittle and everything, and it's not yellow. I've got some that are several years old and have been sitting in the sun, and they're still fine.
One of the reasons too why I use the cream paper, which is, you can barely tell it's not white, but I do use cream in pretty much all of our publications. I've gone through websites that for publishing recommendations for the sight impaired, and it's overwhelmingly recommends to use cream paper because it reduces the glare of off the paper for people who are having trouble with eyesight, whereas white enhances the light of it, but then can also be a real strain on people's eyes. So for the sight impaired, they recommend using cream paper. And
and that's the way we need to do things, is make things as acceptable, as accessible as possible to as many people as possible.
You think we should get into large print books? You think we should do large print? I've debated it because I've debated what I still see large print as having really good sales as far as like an aspect of the publishing industry. But with the advent of an ebook where you can change the font size to anything you want, does it still make sense to produce large print books in this era, or do you think the people that would have read large print books, have switched to Kindle or ebooks?
We're talking about old people, mostly with vision problems. You're talking about old people. There are a lot of people that just have, disease or or other genetic things, but mostly it's old people, and old people often don't like the technology.
My vision's fairly shit-tastic without my glasses, but I did find myself a couple months ago at the public library going through the large print section, and I'm not going to lie, I've been an ebook user for well over a decade, but there was something about being able to pull a large print book off the shelf and be able to hold it and be able to read it. Last time I got my glasses upgraded, I finally got the close vision fixed so I could do that, because I hadn't been able to read a print book for years because I had never addressed it. But I'm really torn, because it's like, if there's a demand for the large print and people still want it, then I want to make sure we're doing it. But especially with the genres that we know do well in large print, like history or mystery or romance, I just don't know. I don't know. I can't tell if we're missing an audience by not doing that, or if we're
what I think. what I think would be a good idea is because sometimes there are a lot of times that I want a print book because it's the times when my friend Jack, who died many years ago, when my friend Jack comes back as a spirit to visit me, and my electronic devices go wacko because he had this weird energy. Sometimes I need a hard copy book.
Yeah.
And right now I'm nearsighted, and so when I read, I take off my glasses and I can read the books. That is kind of getting a little bit iffy these days, but
I can't read shit up close without my glasses.
I think what would be good would be to pick something like the perp books or something that might appeal to a reasonably large audience, and then just promote the heck out of it. Oh, I can swear. Promote the hell out of it. Um, and see what the response is. See if people start jumping on saying, "Oh, this is great. This is great." And
Yeah,
see
I mean,
if it's worthwhile. Because I would love to be able to reach everybody.
So today we're actually simulcasting to not only our YouTube channel, but we're out on our Facebook channel my personal Facebook channel as well. I know I can see that Teresa was watching us at some point out there on the live. I don't know if comments are going to show up here from Facebook. They're supposed to. I did set the stream up for public, so we should be able to see comments on the Facebook feed. But I am curious where people stand on that. I would be interested in people posting comments about do they like large print? Are they interested in large print? How do they consume their material? But I gotta say I was a little hurt when the whole thing about the mass market paperback going away. But I associate those with beach reads, and Kevin Tipple, one of our authors and fantastic book reviewer and soon to be an editor with us. I've asked him to go ahead and edit the next volume of Santa Rage for this this fall.
Kevin knows Rage.
Yes. Regina says you will see them, but you'll see them. Right, but YouTube won't see comments from Facebook unless we highlight them. Got it. Okay. I'm liking I got an email from Facebook telling me that I was getting so much engagement on my personal page from Facebook that they were unlocking all these tools for me to use and for promotion and all that. And I was like, wow, does that officially make me an influencer? Like,
You're an influencer.
Oh my God, I'm an influencer. I'm right up there with the Kardashians. I'm so excited. Who knew I could reach that status? I'm Chloe. I can't believe it. God. Luis is like, oh, please don't tell me you're gonna be another one of those putting influencer after your name. But I was distracted as usual. Squirrel. But Kevin made an interesting comment on Facebook in that he felt like beach read was one of those things that was kind of made up. Like there was never really such a thing as a beach read. But
and it was, yeah.
I didn't think I was crazy, but it seems like, especially when Regina says she bows down to the social media queen and king. It seems to me that, especially when I worked at Walden Books, there were certain books that were held over for publication that didn't come out until the summer. And it was always your light, frothy read, right? It was always that book you didn't have to think about. It was easily digestible. I mean, essentially it was white bread, right?
And they're also
you consume it, but it doesn't have any real nutritional value to it.
They're sometimes also called airport reads because it's in the airport bookstore, and so it's going to be like inoffensive to everybody. Nobody will be offended by it because it's light and frothy, and you won't get scared on the plane because there aren't any plane crashes in those books.
Yeah, Zeke, stop. Oh, he's been licking his leg for all the fur is coming out. It's really bad.
Ah,
I I don't know that in 13 years, well, the first 13 years of publishing, I don't know that I ever specifically held a book. Well, I take that back. I say I didn't hold books specifically for summer releases, but you know what? I did. There were books I know of that were sort of light content that I mean, there's one thing about scheduling a book like June being Pride Month. Happy Pride to everybody out there. If you choose to celebrate, happy Pride to everybody. Um, we make no disguise of the fact that Misti Media is gay owned and operated and filled with people from every walk of life because we believe in a rainbow of love for everybody and inclusive of everybody. That's just how we do things over here. So I mean, there were books that would be released for certain reasons for the summer. Hey, this is a good Father's Day book. Hey, this is a good Pride Month book. I think it was fairly rare for me to release something that would be like, especially because I never did mass markets at Untreed Reads. I don't know that I ever produced something specifically for sitting by the pool. But okay, so you as an author, see, and this is what I tell people I'm loving about our show because it has really evolved into this very, very cool kind of not he said, she said, but definitely publisher, the publisher view and the author reader view, which is really cool to be able to kind of put together. So you as an author and a reader, were you into the beach read? Were you looking for those kind of, and I don't want to say low content book because nowadays low content means something else, but were you into finding those easy frothy books to throw in your bag to go sit by the pool or the beach or go on vacation with?
well, I that the short answer is yes. The longer answer is I've never been one to follow the like bestseller list and like I mean I didn't read the first Dan Brown book, the Da Vinci Code one, until like I don't know, years and years and years after it came out.
Yeah, I still haven't
But
read.
but and yeah, when I read it, it was a really fun beach read. But I do like to have the 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 less stressful books. And I found a definition that said that beach read was actually coined by people in the publishing industry and the book selling industry, like the major folks like Barnes and Noble and Borders and those. But it was done as a way of keeping book sales up in the summer. What I like to read, I've always loved kids' books. And my favorite genre, really, of almost anything is middle grade novels.
Yeah,
As middle grade novels.
Nowadays. Yeah.
What was that?
Especially nowadays.
Yeah,
Middle grade,
yeah.
middle grade is not the middle grade books now are not the middle grade books that I grew up with. There's a bigger maturity to them these days than what I grew up with.
And the middle grade novels, they have the angst and they have the coming of age and they have the churning of emotions and who am I and who am I going to be, but the stakes when you're reading it as an adult are so much lower. And that's one of the things that I saw. I think it was the Guardian that wrote the first article about beach reads, is the stakes are usually low enough that you don't get so caught up in it like, oh, is everything going to be okay? It's like, okay, it'll work out or it won't. And it should work out. And with the middle grade novels, things work out.
So would you consider Harry Potter to be a beach read? Or is that too involved because of how big the universe is and how many books are in the series?
Yeah,
it's like a beach read's got to be fair, like consumed in like one or two sessions by the pool.
I think
or you're not engaged enough that if you put it down for like 2 days, you're not going to feel like you're missing out on something. You can go back and
so I've only read the first Harry Potter book because I figured I had to read it so I could, when people said, "Well, why do you hate it? You haven't read it," I could say I read it. But the first
that was me about Twilight. I read Twilight so I could tell everybody why I hated sparkly vampires.
Anyway, so the first Harry Potter is a beach read because when I put my bookmark in and set the book aside, it's like, okay, I can go on and do other things and I don't care. I'm reading a book right now, my new favorite author. And when I put my bookmark in and set it down, I'm going, she's not a beach read because I want to always be reading her. And she writes well in like every genre there is. But the first Harry Potter was Sarah Beth Durst. And she has just become like on everybody's radar from her.
Don't forget
romanticy.
Don't forget we're a book podcast, so it's totally, not everything's got to be a Misty Media title. If we love something we're reading, let's let other people know about it. All ships rise when we promote other publishers and other authors. So
thank you for the reminder.
Never feel bad about saying who you like and who you love. It's not about that.
Yeah, because I spent so many years working in radio where for many of the years you couldn't mention anything commercial. And, it couldn't be like, maybe, are you endorsing that? That sort of thing. But yeah, Sarah Beth Durst, The Spell Shop is a book that, she's written like 30 or 40 books in different genres. And that's the one that really burst through the public consciousness. But she's written middle grade, she's written young adult, she's written romanticy, which The Spell Shop is the first in a sort of loose trilogy.
Look at this, Linda. Yeah. We got a comment from Teresa on our Facebook. The term beach read is still used by authors to promote their book as a beach read during the summer. The real question, though, Teresa, is that accurate? So, like, are you seeing it being used for the type of book? Like, what is a beach read? Is it a book on physics because that's what an engineer might want to escape with for fun? Or Teresa, how do you define a beach read? What do you think that term means? I'd be curious to hear.
I was looking over and if she gives you a good answer, interrupt me with it. But I was looking over the Misty Media list today to think, okay, what do we have that's a beach read? And
by your definition,
ouch, cats, they use you as roads. The fact that it should be something easy to read.
Hello, Angela. Thank you for being here.
Hey. Easy to read and easy to set down and then pick up and get back into.
Okay.
And yet it's got to be something that's an interesting read, because if you, like with Harry Potter, I had to keep fighting to pick the book back up again because it was like, I don't care. So you have to have that care. I think that
interesting. Warren says he feels anything by Clive Cussler is a beach read. I can't argue with that. Those are like little independent Indiana Jones adventures, right? Like each book is fairly standalone. The characters you kind of build over the course of however 3,000 books that Clive Cussler's done. Sort of like William Johnstone's Westerns, like there's 20 billion of them. But I can't really argue with Warren on that one. Clive Cussler it's a self-contained book that when you don't have to read them necessarily in any particular order. And
James Patterson.
And it's all action adventure, and okay. Indiana Jones was always considered a summer tentpole release when those movies came out, so I can buy that.
But I think that Kay George, June White, and Marilyn Todd are our beach reads in that the books are ones that and short stories too. Their books are ones that it's like, oh wow, this is fun, this is good. Oh, there's something interesting going on over there. Oh, I want to play pickleball, bookmark. And then you come back to it and it's like, oh, yeah, the book, it's fun. And it's something you can set aside and come back to in the summer. And in the winter, you can also sit there and with your cocoa and your popcorn or whatever with a fire, I wish.
I'm totally with you on Kay George. I definitely feel like Kay George's stuff are beach reads because they are so fun. There's a lot of humor to them, and that's kind of what spurs them on. And you can really just sit down with any book from Kay George and Maybe a little less so on the Neanderthal mysteries, but definitely more so on her series with Broke and Choke.
Those are the ones I was really thinking.
The ones that take place in Texas. Those are definitely, I would agree with you. Everything in June White's catalog that we've published, everything from June is all small town, fun characters, not overly harsh plots. They're all fun reads.
It's like people that you would want to go on vacation with, and you're fine with them for a couple of weeks, but you don't want to like live with them forever next door.
I'd probably I'd probably have to give the Marilyn Todd a think, just because the I, Claudia books, they are really fun, and there is a lot of humor to them, but definitely not her new series. The Alonia, so we just published today 2 new books from Marilyn Todd in her High Priestess Alonia Ancient Greece Mysteries. So the first 2 were just released today. Hello, Miss Carol. We love you so much. So we just released those today, and those are really kind of serious. So I would say they're fun, but they're kind of serious. Regina says, my beach reads are books I want to read when I had some free time to read and want to do nothing else but read my book. I think that's a good definition.
I think so too.
That's I would say, I always hate to say, well, it's the kind of thing I want to turn my brain off. And yet it's that thing of when you really don't want to have to think about the rest of the world. And I think that's kind of why it got associated with beach reads, because it's the idea of vacation, right? Like most people, if you're going to the beach or you're going to the pool, it's because you've got vacation time and it's a time to sit and relax and do nothing and decompress. And that's not the time you're normally going to sit down and read like a 650-page treatise on World War II. That's going to be where you're going to sit and read a little bit fluffier, a little bit fluffier of a book.
You're not going to read The Once and Future King by T.H. White.
Or War and Peace. Although I used to challenge every summer used to be for me, because I'm a complete nerd. Every summer for me was always about reading at least one classic of literature. That, and I don't know why that was always my time. It's not like I ever got a vacation. So Carol says
that's it.
Carol says the
when
sun gets in my eyes reading at the beach.
The summer is when I read all the Lord of the Rings stuff, from The Hobbit on. That was in summer vacation because I didn't have time during school to read books that were that mass market paperback was that thick.
Yeah, I mean, I think about
and be able to follow along.
The Stephen King short story collections in mass market that were like 600 and 700 pages long, and everybody had a bookmark. Like back when we actually used to use bookmarks. But what do you think about short story anthologies being beach reads? Since you only have to, instead of having to sit and consume like 600, 250 to 300 pages of one main story, you can read a short story and be done with it and move on to the next one. Teresa says, a book based in a coastal town or an easy light read, and she recommends By Book or by Crook by Ava Gates as an example.
That sounds good.
I like that idea. The book based in a coastal town makes me think of all those small town. What I have in our submission guidelines, where I'm like, it can't take place in a bakery or a small town where the innocent woman shop owner falls in love with the local share.
The stereotypical British. It's not on vacation. It's on holiday at the coast. No, that's not even.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the small town, that's something upon something, something upon the waves or whatever.
I like that. Yeah. Something upon something. Somebody needs to write a book that takes place in the sleepy British town of something upon something. That would be awesome. I would love that.
Okay,
that would be great.
Let me write that down.
That's really funny. I could totally see a tongue-in-cheek kind of British mystery with everybody living in a town called something upon something.
Mm-hmm.
But
I reviewed a book. Oh gosh, reviewed a book for Kings River Life that was in the Marlowe series, which is one of these British cozies that takes place in a tiny little town, and I entered it thinking, yeah, but it was good. And I had to, it was like, I think it was the fourth book in the series, and it stood alone. And I went back after I finished it, and I bought all the others, and they're on my TBR over there. But it was really good. There's a reason why, stereotypes exist, because
I mean,
validity to them.
It's not a stereotype if it's true. Yeah.
But yeah, short stories, I think, they have the benefit of being short enough that you can say, oh yeah, I can stay out here for another like 30 minutes before I'm going to burn to a crisp or whatever, and then you can read a short story, and that gives you the deadline to okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go in and have lunch, or I'm going to go in and dress for dinner, or I'm going to go in and put on more sunscreen, because the short story, you're not going to get into it and keep going and going and going, because
or that feeling that comes over still a lot of people like me. It's impossible for me to relax. Like, I just don't know. I feel like I always need to be doing something or accomplishing something. And, the idea of a vacation just like never happens to me. But there's some sort of feeling of accomplishment that if I get through a short story, I started something and I finished it. And so even if I'm trying to relax, if I can say that I read a complete story in one sitting, then I've accomplished something. But, Sandy was one of the reasons Sandy really loved anthologies. And I think everybody here knows who Sandra Murphy was, my best friend, and part of a vital part of our publishing house, who passed away at the end of April. Sandy was big on the anthology format for exactly that reason, that she thought that anthologies were those kind of books that you could sort of take anywhere when you had 5 minutes, 10 minutes of downtime, or you just needed a way to escape for a little while without having to completely bury yourself in a long plot and have to keep track of stuff. It was the idea that they were, easily digestible, pieces of reading for wherever you might be, whether that's out by the pool or standing in line at the bank. I'm
sure all of us that are big readers, you finish a really good novel, then what do? You can't just jump into another novel. I mean, it's going to suffer by comparison, or it's the wrong genre now. And you would have liked it if you'd read it but not after this book that was so short. I use short stories for that all the time. It's like,
that's actually
what I want to read next.
That's actually why I got into ebooks umpteen years ago, because it even back then it took a lot to hold my attention when I was reading. I mean, it's so much worse now that I read, now that I read for a profession,
for a living.
Now it's well, I can't say I do it for a living because I can't do it full time yet. But there was nothing worse than being stuck on an airplane at 30,000 feet with a book that sucks.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So my carry-on was always had at least 5 paperbacks in it. In case one of them sucked. Right? Like, in case one of them sucked, you had the opportunity to like yank another one, which is again where this size came in handy, because you could take 5 of these and you could throw them in a backpack. And you want to tell me
you could carry on?
You can't do. Oops. You can't take 5 of these, and
I can hold it up. I'm not.
I mean, it's not like you
not
can
doing the facial recognition thing.
You're not going to fill up in a carry-on bag with 5 of those, in that size. So when the first commercial ebook reader came along, which was the Rocket ebook, it didn't have much memory, but it was actually it still could hold something like 20 full-length novels on it.
It was like that thick, which is
it actually had
3 or 4 times.
Well, it actually had a giant spine to it because it had a big round battery that took up like the whole side of so it held like a book, like you're holding the spine. But man, I threw that thing in my bag, and now I got 20 books with me at 30,000 feet that if I'm reading something, I don't like it. And then,
Yeah.
that led to people trying to take their Kindles, and to the beach, and they're like, oh man, I can't read it because the sunlight. And then that created a whole other aspect of the market where they started creating ebook readers that had front light to be able to compensate for the sunlight, so people actually could read in bright sunlight. So it was this weird evolution of kind of like going forward to go backwards to maintain the beach read. For me, I have a problem with the concept that you're reading on something electronic by the pool or by the ocean. I call me old fashioned, but I feel like that's one of those times where, I'm used to seeing people with a good old paperback book and the cover, the book just tortured within an inch of its life, with, the front cover pulled back all the way around the back, or somebody bent down the cover to mark their space of where they, like all that, book torture porn that we would see as we walk through, a pool area. But I'm it's hard for me to feel like reading something on a Kindle by the pool is a beach read.
Yeah. But the other side of that coin is having the ebooks reaches more readers.
Yeah.
Because really, if you look into it, which I did actually once, I wrote an essay for Sandy for the Writers and Publishers Network about, is reading dead? Did some research, because I was teaching English comp at the university at the time, and as an English comp teacher, it's like, yes, reading is dead. but I was seeing enough people on campus that were reading, walking with books, walking with their phone as they're reading a book. And you can tell the difference between reading a book and looking at social media or something when somebody's walking. The ones reading, they're the ones that fall into the fountains. But there are people reading because of the ebooks, because of the ease of being able to read it on here, which baffles me because that's too tiny.
You know what, though? I am one of the people who, if I'm in bed, I'll read on my tablet, but my tablet is really too big to be reading in bed. Yeah. But I have a Pixel, so I have a Pixel XL Pro, and it's a larger screen. It's like a 10-inch screen. I have to say, I had never really tried to. Hey, there's a picture of Zeke on there. Where's my puppy? What's my puppy? I had not really read books on my phone. And I gotta say, I'm a convert because I can change the font, and it's something a lot easier to tote around in my pocket. I've actually been looking at, there's a whole new genre of ebook readers out there now that are basically like super minis that either can attach to the back of your existing phone to carry it with you everywhere you go. I think it's called the XTEK. I think it is. I think it's the X-Tech is the one that's really, really popular right now. Simple black and white reader, no huge frills. Regina says, Zeke, let me show Regina's note. I read more on my phone now than I do a book, as I can have a treasure trove of books with me just for that reason, for the ease.
Yeah.
Yep. And the first time you got food poisoning, hey, you're gonna be really glad you got that phone in the bathroom with you with a good book, because you and Charmin aren't going anywhere for a while.
And I do appreciate that. As somebody that has, I mean, look at those nasty knuckles that I have. I have arthritis, and holding a hardback book is difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I have the tablet that's like that thick, but it's large. It's about the size of an old hardback, but it's lightweight. And I sit there and have that balance, and then I use the little stylus to flip the pages.
You don't just tap the side of the screen, flip to the next page.
No, I have my tablet set so that when I do that, it flips the page over, and you like
the old school experience of hearing the page turn and like kind
I'm really old. Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think it's old at all. I mean, clearly that feature exists because enough people wanted it, right?
Yeah.
Hello, Maria. Wow, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here.
Hey.
Love. Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, I think there's enough people that want it, that still want that feature, want to still have that somewhat of a book feel in their hands. So maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about technology not being suitable for a beach read. You know, if people are still getting to have that, if people still get to have the experience they want to have, then who am I to say that, you know, it's right or wrong?
Well, my problem with using an ebook as a beach read is I just know that I'm going to have my hands suddenly go, "Ow!" and it falls into the pool. And there's way more than a mass market paperback price because I've just dropped my
Well, that's true.
$200, $300 tablet into the freaking swimming pool. And
You know,
it's dead. It's dead, Jim.
It's a miracle that I have a tablet at all, because I am one of those people that is reading in bed and falls asleep and drops it on the floor every single night. I mean, Luis is always like, "You're scaring the hell out of the dog. You dropped it. You dropped it. You know, Zeke is alerted immediately. Like, what's, you know, why is the world coming apart?" And I've dropped it on Zeke. I've dropped it on his head. I mean, yeah, but see, I don't do that with a phone. If I'm reading on the phone, then it's not such a thing. I'm torn. I kind of want something that's in between the tablet and the phone, in terms of size, but I won't ever buy a Kindle, especially after what happened a couple weeks ago, where Amazon announced they were discontinuing support for 12 versions of the Kindle. 12 versions of the Kindle immediately became obsolete, immediately told customers, you can no longer buy any books whatsoever to read on this. You're not going to be able to even open the shop to buy books for this. You have no choice but to buy a new device, which I just think is the worst thing in the world. I mean, we already knew that the new head of Amazon hates books and wants out of the book business altogether, and he's been vocal about it. But to go ahead and tell millions of people around the world that have a Kindle device, hey, you know what? We just decided you can't use your Kindle anymore to buy ebooks. I mean, that's just insane to me. And it was bad enough when they became the only reseller to tell people, you don't own the books. We're only giving you a license to read it, and we can revoke that license at any time.
Any moment. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
you'll never own anything you buy from us that's an ebook.
I can't tell you well, I could tell you the number of times if I stopped and think about it. But yeah, I would open up my Kindle and go, wait a minute, where'd that book go?
Yeah,
that happened to me like you know, half a dozen times. But still, that's like, you know, I get up and reach for my book on the bedside table, and somebody broke into my house and stole my book, and that's what this is like. Where'd the book go on my Kindle? It's not there anymore. And then I read, oh yeah, it got.
Can you imagine? Look,
sucked away.
Can you imagine you're already planning an expensive vacation somewhere, and you know the book reading thing may be like just a small part of that. Hey, I gotta get through the long airplane flight to wherever it is I'm going, and only to find out that the night before that your device can no longer get new ebooks, and now you're back to being who I was 10 years ago, stuck at 30,000 feet with a book that sucked, because there's no way to change the situation.
And then what do you do at 30,000 feet? I mean, talk to the person in the seat next to you. They're crazy.
They've adopted, you know, Carol will appreciate this one. There's a term for that now that used to refer to something else completely, but the term now is called raw dogging. Right? Like those of us that are old enough know what that term used to mean.
And that's a good term for it. Yeah, that is.
But now the term raw dogging refers to going through a flight with no entertainment. So like you didn't bring a cell phone or a book to read or a movie to watch or something like that.
Does anybody on the plane have a paperback book I could borrow or buy from them?
That would totally be me. There's no way. I mean, I can't sleep on planes anyway. but I can't even imagine sitting there on a plane doing absolutely nothing for like, you know, when we go to Peru, it's Vegas to Miami and then Miami to Lima. So it's like 9 hours. How the hell would I get through 9 hours with no books, no movies, no entertainment, you know?
I have learned how to write, to creatively write on my phone, and not being a thumb texter, especially since my thumbs don't work anymore. I had to take the bus for many years because I had no car. I got a car now, yay! But anyway, I learned how to write stuff with my stylus on the bus because, you know, I'd be sitting on the bus and I wouldn't want to hold a paperback and not be able to know what's going on around me. But I learned how to write, and I could write creative things on my phone, and that's how I would survive it. But I would be kind of ready for a straitjacket by the time we landed.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Without being able to read books on a long flight.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of how many times that, not only that, it, you know, for me, it takes my mind off the actual flying. It's also good for, a lot of times if I'm going away for like a week or something, especially, you know, if I go to visit my parents in Florida, or, you know, sometimes there's just that day that I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I just want to, I may be like, a couple years back, Luis and I went to Punta Cana. His sister from Peru was going, and so it became like this family thing that we went with her. And there was a day where Luis went to the pool with his sisters, and there was this really great little spot where somebody had built a hut with a hammock in it, and I laid in that hammock with a book. Well, actually, I guess it was with my tablet, but just sat there and read. And it was the most peaceful time. And it, you know, I'm not far from the beach. I mean, I can kind of hear the beach, but I'm not at the beach and I'm not at the pool. But
You're in the story. You're in the story.
Yeah, and and physically I'm in this peaceful zone of, you know, I'm away from work, I'm away from the world, and it becomes a completely different kind of beach read. Right?
Yeah.
It just becomes, I'm on a vacation. I'm away from, you know, the hullabaloo of it all.
The responsibilities.
Yeah. So, Linda, in conclusion, is the beach read dead? Is it washed out?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's what was it? Mark Twain said the rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. I
Yeah.
think that's what it is for reading and for the beach read, because we need the story, the book that we can enjoy now, but we can set it aside because, oh, look, it's time to go on this tour with the family, or oh, look, it's time to go and do this fun thing that I came here for, and you can set the book aside and come back to it.
I would like to think that, I mean, even though we know, you know, all the data points to reading in general being on the decline, especially with younger generations, I would like to think that the idea of going on vacation or using books as escapist fare, to just kind of get away from life for a little while, whether that's a dedicated beach read or it's just what somebody will enjoy to take them out of their moment of work or pain or what have you. I'd like to think that there's still room for those kind of books, the kind of books that that you don't necessarily have to be real cerebral about, that you can just enjoy it because it's an enjoyable book. It doesn't have to mean something. It doesn't have to be an award winner. It's just a good book.
And one of the last students I had before I quit teaching, I'm still in touch with her, and she reads. She goes to the library and gets actual books. She uses the library for ebooks, and she reads a lot of books. And she's, in her early 20s. So there are still the young people that are carrying this on. And we don't hear about them because that, the news is about what's wrong.
Yeah. Focus on the
And
negative.
and there are, make people fearful. There are things that are right. And I could tell you plenty about students I had that never read a book since like 6th grade. But there are the people out there that are still supporting books and buying books. And Alexis goes to used bookstores and picks up books. She goes to new bookstores. We got like, I don't know, 6 or 7 indie bookstores here in my undisclosed Northern Nevada region.
Must be nice.
It
we
is.
Suffer,
it
we
is.
suffer for bookstores big time here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and some of them are just like very niche, and some of them aren't. Some of them are used, and some of them are new, but it's really nice. And there's the market for it. They're making it, little bitty stores. So there's hope. There is hope. I think if we can nurture it, you and I being the ones that are putting content out there, I think if we can nurture it and keep getting these people to keep reading and bring in their younger siblings.
Well, and
I think there's hope.
And speaking of all that, I do want to bring to everybody's attention that August 8th is going to be the first annual Misti Media Book Fair. It is going to be a big deal. We're going to have a lot of folks from what I call the reseller community. A lot of folks don't know that in addition to us being a publisher, we're pretty active in this amazing community of resellers that just really look out for each other. And oh my gosh, Michael's here. Hello, Michael. And these resellers have been just phenomenal as far as being supportive of everything we do. They've been supportive of us not doing things quite the same way they do, but still counting us as part of their family. It's been really huge. You know that we do the train shop hop, courtesy of Cajun Roots, Johnny. So the first annual Misti Media Book Fair on August 8th, it'll start at 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be this really terrific combination of the reseller community and authors. And we are going to be selling stuff and raising money for a really great charity called First Read that provides underprivileged kids with some of the first books they may have ever had. We are looking for as many resellers and as many authors that would like to be a part of this. My goal is to eventually grow this to be like a Jerry Lewis telethon where it goes for 24 hours. I would love nothing more than to have a 24-hour marathon of authors and publishers and resellers that are all coming together for the purpose of making literacy available to everybody. So do stay tuned to our channel. We're going to continue to have updates on that, probably with each one of these shows.
And I've got one thing that I want to mention. There is a book fest in Sparks, Nevada, an in-person thing, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. this coming Saturday, where a lot of authors, local authors, and some of the indie bookstores are going to be there selling on the streets in Sparks, on Victorian Square. And it's put together by Sierra Arts Foundation because literary arts are arts here in Northern Nevada. And so it's our second annual book fest this Saturday, the 6th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. A lot of books, a lot of genres, family friendly. Also, there's some real smutty romance writers that are really
Woohoo, we love smut.
Yep. So there's some good stuff going on there too as well.
That's awesome.
And Sierra Arts is getting a cut out of this. Going to arts of all kinds.
Fantastic. So if you are a reseller and you're following along with this and you haven't quite made the decision whether or not you want to be a part of it, please, by all means, drop me an email. Jay Hartman, that's JHARTMAN, @mistimedia.com, and let me know that you're interested. Regina, who's in the chat, has raised an incredible amount of money so far. I think she's told me she's raised $500 worth of sales, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm incredibly appreciative of. We do have a $2,000 goal for this particular outing, and again, just looking forward to having as many people as part of it as I possibly can. And let's see, I guess other than that, I've got playing behind us right now our new theme music so that we can enjoy that. If you weren't here at the top of the show, the artist's name is Ashutosh, I believe is the correct pronunciation. He's a gentleman out of India who's become a rather popular DJ. And the name of the piece is called Peru, which fits right in with our show and with us and as a company. We thank him very much for making the song available as a Creative Commons license that we're allowed to use it for our show and for our channel by giving him credit in the show notes, which you will see below. Please swing by his channel on YouTube and let him know that you heard his music here. And don't miss Linda's page also down below, a list of all the books that Linda currently appears in. That list will be growing as we add more. And as always, thank you, folks. We really appreciate that you're here and that you've been a part of our world. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode. Not sure if we'll do Father's Day or if we're going to go on to something else. It remains a mystery. Stay tuned.
My dad loved books. I'd love to get him books for when he was around. He also loved Star Trek.
Subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Remember, we don't make any money off this channel. All the money we make is, as a company, is from when you buy our books. That's how our authors put food on the table. So please do support independent publishing and independent authors. We hope you guys have a really terrific week. Read a good book, come back, tell us all about it, and we will see you on the next show. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.